evening. It's 8 p.m. and it is time for I Love Cinema, episode 10. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you guys had a lovely day and a lovely week and just all of these things. Yeah, I just said, in case you've been here a bit earlier, I was trying out like hopefully no tech issues because oh my god, I rewatched my Deadpool broadcast from 2 weeks ago and it's a shambles. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched it because the second half is just horrendous. But I do hope that I'm still bringing some points across. It is watchable and you can kind of listen to it as well. Sometimes you can't properly watch it, but you can hear it. But overall, I hope you liked it. But yeah, now we're on episode 10 and I'm straight going to go through the news because there's a lot of news to cover today. All right. So there's a lot of Solo stuff. Solo obviously came out last Thursday. And in case you didn't know what I thought of it, go onto my channel, episode 9, all about Solo. I'm not spoiling anything, so it's totally spoiler free. So just in case you've not seen it yet, it's perfectly fine to check out that broadcast because I'm actually not spoiling the tiniest bit. Maybe tiniest bit is a bit, well, just watch it. There's no big spoilers there whatsoever. You can easily watch my review, if I want to call it that, of Solo, a Star Wars story, and you will still be able to watch it in the cinema and be surprised by a lot of things. But the first news story we have is that actually for Solo, the box office results of the opening weekend are abysmal. When I say abysmal, it's just for a Star Wars film, it's abysmal. For a normal film, it would be quite good. But apparently, according to Deadline, they're reporting that the 3-day total of the opening weekend, because it's like a long weekend, in the United States, they just made 83 million. Just 83 million. That's barely over half of what Rogue One did in the opening weekend. So that is, I guess, a bit disappointing. Considering Rogue One was about people we didn't know, and this time it's about Han Solo and things like that. Gets bums in seats, but apparently not. And it's not doing that much better overseas either. So overall, the opening box office for Solo Star Wars Story is quite disappointing, considering it's a Star Wars movie. So we'll see how it does overall. Maybe it's just not going to lose a lot of traction, which usually films do within the first 2 or 3 weeks. It's quite a dip. But we'll see how it does. Overall, the film is reviewed, like there's quite a lot of mixed reviews coming in. Like there's some people who really love it, there's some people who really hate it. It's kind of like a Last Jedi thing all over again. I personally, just to give you the quick one, I really enjoyed it, even though I'm not a big fan of The Last Jedi. I also wasn't a fan of Rogue One, except for the last 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes of Rogue One were fucking fantastic. Um, so, Last Jedi. Solo, I was very, very surprised. I had zero expectations, like literally zero, zero. There's not the tiniest bit of space. Absolute zero expectations for it because I've been very disappointed in The Last Jedi. I've been very disappointed in Rogue One. The only Star Wars film that I like of the new ones now, the recent ones, is The Force Awakens, which was obviously the first one, like pushing everything, like starting this whole roll of new Star Wars films. And I was so excited for it, and I've just been disappointed, and now I was like, I'm having zero expectations, and maybe that's why I liked it. One of my mates, and we're usually quite on par when it comes to films and all of that stuff. She absolutely hates this film, and and I was like, I thought it was really good. I was entertained from start to finish, but it seems to be like even on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like a mixed bag. So overall, the film seems to be received as quite a mixed bag, which I found surprising. But then, to be honest, I've only watched it once. Maybe now that I really liked it, second time going in, I will probably have very high expectations, and then I might not like it as much because I'm like, wait a minute, where's the movie that I so enjoyed the first time around I was watching it? You never know. I'll keep you posted on that. And speaking of Solo, a Star Wars story, obviously Paul Bettany plays a character in this film, and he was apparently sworn to secrecy over his favorite Easter egg in Solo, a Star Wars story. And Bettany talked to GameSpot, And he was asked what his favorite reference or hidden gem is in the film. So he said, "Yeah, but I've been sworn to secrecy on the thing that I saw. I saw a thing on set, and I went up to the solo co-writer John Caston, and I went, 'Is that what I think it is?' And he went, 'Yeah.'" So Bethany just gave us one hint. He didn't actually tell us what it is, but he gave us one hint. So the object is located in Dryden Voss's study. So Dryden Voss is the character that Paul Bettany is playing. And it's in a this is obviously a very prominent location in the film. There's quite a lot of scenes that are taking place in his study. And according to Bettany, whatever the object is, it's not been confirmed yet. No one's figured it out yet. Obviously, the film just came out a week ago. Jonathan Caston himself had snuck it into the picture. Bettany apparently isn't sure whether the object actually made the final cut, so we're not entirely sure whether we're even seeing it when we're watching Solo on the big screen. But he's saying, it's like, we'll see if it makes the movie, but people will pause in that scene. There's a lot of stuff to look at in that particular location, that particular environment. And if you have seen Solo and you remember that particular location, there's so much stuff, like little nicks and knacks. There's a lot of stuff going on. So trying to figure out one particular item that holds significance, I think that is probably something that we're going to find out when it hits home release, and people can just like freeze frame and just go zoom in here and one frame back, one frame forward, those kinds of things. People are going to find out. Nothing's stopping the geek power. But it's just interesting to, like, it's almost like he's teasing us. It's like, you have to watch Solo again and again and again, and then maybe you will figure out what my favorite Easter egg is. And apparently there's an Easter egg in Voss's office, so we have to figure that out. More Star Wars news. Still, I mean, it's been rumored for a while, but Boba Fett is getting a Star Wars standalone movie, and that's not really news. It's been rumored for a while. It's like in a pipeline, just like the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and blah blah blah. However, it's just been confirmed who's going to be directing it. Now, according to the Hollywood Reporter, James Mangold has signed on to write and direct the Boba Fett movie. Now, if you don't know who James Mangold is, the last film that he's done was Logan, which is the final Wolverine film, starring Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the X-Men franchise. And obviously, it's not really a spoiler. If you've not seen Logan by now, seriously, I can't help you. But Wolverine dies, and it's quite a dark film, quite gritty. It's not the kind of film that you go, it's like, yeah, it's very comic booky. It's not. So it was very surprising. It was very adult, almost like almost R-rated, but not like Deadpool, where it's just like fuck this and dick joke that and whatever. But it was just a very, very grown up comic book film. It was really like, there's no like flashy colors or anything. It's not a feel good movie. It's like the end of the world kind of a film, and it's the end of the road for the characters and stuff. It's a very, very mature, that's the word I was looking for, not adult. It's a very mature film. So I can't wait to see what James Mangold is going to do with Boba Fett. Boba Fett, obviously, the bounty hunter from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in the Mandalorian armor. Quite a fan favorite, so it's no surprise that they're going to do a movie about him. So I can't wait to see that. No news as to, where they want, like, the setting, like where it goes in the timeline, or even who they're considering of having Star as it. It would be interesting, as when I think of Boba Fett, I never really think about the face behind the helmet, It doesn't really matter who they cast, because you're just not going to show it. But obviously, if it's a Boba Fett film and you never see the protagonist's face, that would be a bit weird. So of course, it needs to be someone that. So that would be interesting. And obviously, we kind of know what he looks like considering the prequels, and we've seen him as a boy. So yeah, we'll see. Who gets cast in that. And that is kind of it for the Star Wars stuff. So we're going back into more general territory, and there's some like really weird shit happening. So I'm going off on a bit of a weird ass dog tangent there. Show Dogs is a film that's currently in cinemas. Not really a film I want to watch. I would watch it if you paid me for it. I've seen the trailer several times, and I was like, this is just not for me. This is just, it looks not just silly, but it looks like absolute bullshit. not interested whatsoever to watch this. Like, even if it was like, if I had seen all the other films, if I had not anything to watch at home or Netflix, and my Netflix queue is crazy. If there was nothing else to watch, I would probably watch that. But there's shitloads to watch, so there's no reason to watch something like Show Dogs. And now there's something really weird happening now. So Show Dogs is getting recut, even though it's currently in cinemas. It's already playing, right? So it's getting recut after sexual abuse uproar. And I was like, it's a film about talking dogs. Sexual abuse? What the fuck? So bear with me. So Global Road Entertainment, who are responsible for Show Dogs, they made changes to the theatrical cut of their family-friendly comedy show Dogs, after the National Center on Sexual Exploitation accused the movie of inadvertently grooming kids for sexual abuse. And I was like, what? Why would they put that kind of material in there? I was like, what the heck? So we're still talking about a movie featuring dogs, talking dogs that are trying to infiltrate a dog show to save a kidnapped baby panda. Now, the baby panda is the one thing why I might go and see it. Because it's so cute and fluffy. So, apparently there's like the leading dog, Max. There's this scene, and if you've seen the trailer, and you probably have if you go to the cinema, like I've seen this trailer numerous times, which is why every time it comes on, I'm like, oh, good God, that piece of shit again. Like, seriously, it's like, how this film even got made. Like, the target audience apparently seems to be families, kids, all of that stuff. But some of the stuff that's in the trailer, I was like, I wouldn't want my kids to watch this. This is ridiculous. This is bullshit. This is horrid. There are other films out there that I would really like my kids to see. Something like Coco, you know? But no, they have to deal with this shit. So apparently Max, who's like the leading dog, right? He must have his genitals inspected for the dog show. And this is a scene that is in the trailer. And every time it comes up, there's at least one man in the cinema who laughs hilariously when that happens. I don't know why, because to me it's just not funny. But that's just me. You know, I'm not a guy. Maybe it's guy humor. You know, I just don't get it. But here's the statement from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, okay? So let me just read that. The movie Show Dog sends a troubling message that grooms children for sexual abuse. It contains multiple scenes where a dog character must have its private parts inspected, in the course of which the dog is uncomfortable and wants to stop, but is told to go to a Zen place, in quotation marks. The dog is rewarded with advancing to the final round of the dog show after passing this barrier. Disturbingly, these are similar tactics child abusers use when grooming children, telling them to pretend they are somewhere else and that they will get a reward for withstanding their discomfort. Children's movies must be held to a higher standard and must teach children bodily autonomy, the ability to say no, and safety, not confusing messages endorsing unwanted genital touching. Now that is what they were stating, right? And the film company's response, according to Deadline, it's come to our attention that there have been online discussion and concern about a particular scene in Show Dogs, a family comedy that is rated PG. The distributor said, the dog show judging in this film is depicted completely accurately as done at shows around the world and was performed by professional and highly respected dog show judges. Global Road Entertainment and filmmakers are saddened and apologize to any parent who feels the scene sends a message other than comedic moment in the film with no hidden or ulterior meaning, but respect their right to react to any piece of content. So that's quite generic, a bit apologetic, but also going like, what the fuck's all the fuss about, right? Now, like I said, I haven't seen the movie yet. I haven't seen the movie, and I'm not planning on seeing the movie, right? So this obviously comes up in the current climate, obviously, with all like sexual exploitation, sexual abuse, and children obviously being the most volatile ones. This is obviously something that we need to think about. But is this being a bit excessive, or is it actually appropriate? Is this something that they should do? Because the film company actually stepped in and recut this. They took this out of the film. I'm not entirely sure how they've done it, so it actually still makes sense. But they have now changed the content of the film after it's been in cinemas for what, 2 weeks, something like that. Obviously, depending on where you are. In the US, might have been for a lot longer. But for me, I'm thinking, first off, I was thinking, it's like, it's showing a dog. It's not a human, it's a dog. And apparently these procedures actually take place the way they are depicted in the film. So this is all accurate. However, I was also thinking, it's like, well, it's not just a dog, it's a talking dog. So it's kind of like a humanized version of a dog reacting to situations like a human would, because that's kind of like the entire setting of the film. So maybe they do have a point. And when it comes to children, I guess better safe than sorry. I mean, the one thing is like, I mean, if you're a parent, obviously you're not going to send your child into this film unaccompanied. Could you do that in a PG film? Do you have to go with your child to the cinema? Or can you literally go like, you go into the cinema and I'll find you in 2 hours? Could you just like put your child in there as if it's child daycare or something? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you could. So if in a PG film, children can be unsupervised, yeah, then you probably would have to potentially recut it. But then I would never let my children watch anything without me present. Not that I have children, but that's what I would do. That's what my parents have done with me. I never watched anything when I was a child without them being present. So in case that there is something that is not cool, they can turn it off, they can take me out. They can explain stuff to me if I have questions, because as a child you will have a lot of questions. Obviously not in the cinema. Actually, yeah, my parents really never took me much to the cinema until I was older. So yeah, not as a little kid. But I think better safe than sorry. So if this is something that a lot of people seem to be having concerns with, um, fair enough. Don't take the film out of cinemas, but recutting it, if that still works. I have to admit that should this film ever show up on Netflix, I I will probably go and watch it just to see what they've actually done. But like I was saying, it's like this particular scene is in the trailer as well. So loads of people will have seen this before even seeing the film itself. So it is a bit weird. Um, on the other hand, sometimes we're trying to be a bit too PC and everything. It's like some of the stuff that I watched when I was a kid that was not okay for my age range. But because I was watching it with my dad, and if I ever had questions, he would just explain things to me. It just depends. Like if you're an engaged parent and you're not just sitting next to your child listening to something, or if you're actually paying attention to the stuff that your child consumes, it's probably different. But I just thought it was really interesting that while this film is still in cinemas, they must have collected all the copies. I mean, it was probably on a server somewhere that they just play. It's not actually a physical copy anymore. But yeah, imagine if that was back in the day when they actually had to get those ginormous rails and put them on there and on the projector, and it would just go um, to recall all the thousands and thousands of copies. Yeah, that would be insane. Anyway, so this happened. And I thought that's hilarious because it's like, it's a family friendly film. It's a family oriented film, apparently. And it's like, sexual abuse. And I was like, what the fuck? And speaking of sexual abuse, but now we're actually going into like really serious fucking territory. Happy news to report on the Harvey Weinstein shit. He's finally been arrested by the NYPD and he's been charged with rape and sexual abuse. It's about fucking time, right? So the New York Police Department has had Harvey Weinstein arrested on charges of rape, committing a criminal sex act, sexual abuse, and sexual misconduct. Weinstein is appearing in court where he faces 3 felony counts: first-degree rape, third-degree rape. Isn't rape rape? What the fuck? It's like one is half-assed rape? What the fuck? And first-degree criminal sexual act tied to incidents in 2004 and 2013. More charges are expected to be added. Weinstein apparently was released on a $1 million bail, according to NBC. He's wearing an ankle monitor and has to stay away from his accusers. I do hope that they're gonna put you away for life, you piece of shit. Good riddance. And now on to happier news. But this had to be said, like, if this isn't news, right? Harvey Weinstein, bye-bye. He's actually, like, I was waiting for it. I was like, he's been accused of this, and he's not been arrested, and not been arrested, and not been arrested. Like, week after week after week, we're like, he's still not been arrested. What the fuck? He's finally been arrested. Good. Now, new James Bond movie confirms director. It's an Oscar-winning director. The 25th James Bond movie will be directed by Oscar winner Danny Boyle. If you don't know who that is, he's a bit of a homeboy here in London. He directed Slumdog Millionaire, among a lot of other things. Daniel Craig is back. It was confirmed, I think, back in August, September, something like that, that he will play Bond for the 5th time. He's obviously played in Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and Spectre. I only really like Casino Royale, and that is, I think, my favorite Bond, actually, of all time. Funny enough. And the filming will begin in December, and it's going to hit theaters in November 2019. So I'm really excited for that. Didn't like Skyfall and Spectre that much, especially Spectre was just horrendous. So that was a bit dodge. Now we're going into superhero category. So what's better than showing you the unicorn poster of Deadpool 2 when I talk about superheroes? The Avengers Infinity War, if you haven't seen that yet, seriously, what are you doing? The ending of that was almost the beginning of Avengers 4. Now, how's that going to work? Now, we all remember, if you've not seen Infinity War, seriously, I'm going to spoil the fucking ending now, alright? Obviously, Infinity War ends with a snap by Thanos, and 50% of the population of the universe is kablooey, is no longer there. And a lot of our heroes die, and it was quite somber, and we were like, oh my god, everyone's like, it was a gut punch. It was several gut punches, right? We lost so many of our beloved heroes at the end of Avengers 3. But we might not have seen that. Now, according to the New York Times, they recently spoke with the co-writers, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. They wanted the film to end just on the snap. So snap and then cut to black. I was like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Like, I kind of dig the idea. So Marcus said, but what we realized is it would feel more like a cliffhanger than we intended. Avengers 4 would be more like a continuation of exactly what you were watching in Avengers 3. Now, why that is a problem, I don't quite understand. Why it's like we didn't want a continuation, because it's like Avengers 3 goes into Avengers 4. It's like, isn't it going to be a continuation anyway? But instead we get to see the end of Avengers 3, and apparently Avengers 4 is going to be entirely different. Marcus says Avengers 4, this movie has mysterious things happen that I can't tell you anything about. That is very helpful. But I kind of like the idea of going like, we're fighting for all of this, and obviously Thanos gets like all the stones in the glove, and he goes snap, and then you don't see the result. It's like, did it work? Because obviously we've never seen the Infinity Glove work. The gauntlet, not glove, the Infinity Gauntlet. Does it actually work? Is it a fluke? Does it just short circuit or whatever? What are the actual results? But we've all obviously seen what the results are. I kind of like the idea of just leaving it ambiguous. On the other hand, I mean, I've not seen the script for Avengers 4. There is a big theory there that it might be set several years after Infinity War, which obviously then wouldn't make sense if you go back to the snap, and then you go, these are all the people that just died. And then you just get like a little title going like, 5 years later. And it's like, that's shit. That's always such a cop-out. 5 years later. So I kind of like that they put it in at the end of Infinity War, because that was really a gut punch. Like, who they kill. Like, you think it's like, okay, they're going to kill that person, and that person, and that person. But then you literally, like, 50% of them just went up. And then even in the post-credit scenes, like, they killed Nick Fury and Maria Hill and all of that. and you're like, how the heck are we going to come back to this? But if you've seen to the very end of the credits, and seriously, if you've not seen Infinity War still, definitely keep that up. Um, we see Nick Fury quickly paging Captain Marvel, and that's obviously a great setup for next year when we get the Captain Marvel movie, which I think comes out before Avengers 4, if I remember correctly. I think it's March and Avengers is April, something like that. So that, but that's obviously Captain Marvel apparently is going to be an origin story, so you never really know how that ties in. But Captain Marvel apparently is going to come and save the day, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see Brie Larson be Captain Marvel, so that sounds really, really cool. And we're still on the superhero stuff. I know there's loads of news this time. Just a tiny bit is like Dave Bautista proves it's impossible to talk about Avengers 4 without spoiling anything. And that was just a really weird headline. And I was like, this is bullshit, but I'm going to include it anyway. Of course, it's going to be hard to talk about an upcoming movie that you're in, while apparently the world thinks your character is dead. So it's like, what are you going to be in Guardians 3? What are you going to be in Avengers 4? How is that going to be possible? I just saw your character die in Infinity War. And he's like, well, I'm booked to be on set, and I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to reprise my character. It's not a spoiler, duh. It's like, all I'm thinking after Infinity War is like, what's the reasoning behind everyone coming back? Or will everyone come back? Maybe there will be some people who will actually remain dead or turned into ashes or whatever it was that they were using. So of course there's a Guardians 3 coming out, there's Avengers 4 coming out. You can't have Guardians without the Guardians. And I think all the Guardians died except for Rocket. Was some Rocket and Nebula, I think, are still alive. Everyone else just went. And after James Gunn also, like I talked about it the other week, James Gunn famously deciphered on Twitter what Groot's last words were, because obviously Groot also went. And when he goes, I'm Groot, it means dad towards Rocket. And it's like, oh, it's gut wrenching. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I've only seen the film once. I really want to go back and see it again, but I've just not had time. I've also not seen Solo a second time, but I went to see Deadpool 2 a second time on Saturday. And that's actually a really cool segue into Deadpool 2. Because Saturday we had Comic-Con here in London, MCM Comic-Con, and we had quite a lot of guests, but 2 guests from Deadpool 2 were there. It was Brianna Hildebrand and Stefan Kubicic, who play Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Colossus. They were at MCM Comic-Con, and I'm going to talk more about that in just a second, but there was also a little article on David Leitch, who, you know, if you've seen my podcast, if you've seen this show, you know that I'm a huge fan of David Leitch ever since Atomic Blonde, and now he did Deadpool 2. And yeah, I went to see it a second time on Saturday, and I loved it even more than I did the first time around. I didn't think that was possible, but I really love this film now. I don't just like it, I actually love this film now. I really think it's fantastic. And I'm a huge, huge fan, and I appreciate it even more the second time around. And I hope you guys have a really good time when you watch it. If you don't like Deadpool 2, let me know what you don't like about it. Especially when I talk to people who like Deadpool 1, but didn't like Deadpool 2, because I didn't like Deadpool 1, but I love Deadpool 2. So if there's anyone the other way around, let me know, because I would love to talk to you and find out the reasoning and all of that stuff. Always interests me, different points of view. But yeah, so Leach was basically talking about, as I mentioned, I think last week, those 12 to 15 minutes deleted scenes that he's currently working on putting back into the movie for the home video release. And how awesome it was to do the X-Force gag. So obviously, if you've not seen Deadpool 2, again, spoilers. The whole thing with the X-Force, which is hugely been like prominently featured in the marketing material, it's all just one ginormous gag, because X-Force shows up such a what's the word, It's like it's such a hype about X-Force, and then they finally rock up. They do their auditions with Deadpool and stuff, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome. Look at all these crazy kids, and it's gonna be wicked. And they do this AC/DC's Thunder playing, and they're jumping out of an airplane or a helicopter or whatever it is, like parachuting down, and it's like the music's great and the action sequence is great, and it's David Leitch directing. It's just fucking awesome, right? Um, and it's like thunder, da na 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 na. It's just amazing, right? And then as soon as they get close to try and save the kid, Julian Dennison, all kinds of shit happens, which leads to the demise of almost the entire X Force, and it is hilarious, absolutely hilarious, because no one knew that this was coming. Like, I obviously talked about this, that I have this love-hate relationship when it comes to trailers and stuff, that they always give stuff away. This time, like the Deadpool guys, they seriously sorted out how to use marketing properly, because they really used this to mislead audiences and then threw them a curveball. And because no one saw it coming, it added so much entertainment to this film that if you'd known this from the get-go, it would have been so fucking boring, right? But the way that they did that, absolutely fantastic. All right. So I'm a huge fan. And obviously, David Leitch was like, I can't believe that they allowed me to put so much time and effort and money into basically one ginormous joke. It's footage of stuff that doesn't do anything to the narrative. It has not the tiniest bit of a dent on the plot. It's just for show. And yet it works, and it adds so much entertainment and fun to it that it's like I would have never thought that that was possible. But Leach makes it happen, and that's what it's like. He's just fantastic. Like, seriously, I can't sing this guy's praises enough. He is so amazing, and that obviously also will have something to do with like Reynolds and the writers, because they're working really closely, and apparently they rewrite the script pretty much on a daily basis because they come up with other things and stuff like that. But while I'm talking about this, so I just want to play you like a little clip of Brianna and Stefan. And unfortunately, I have to X out of this to do so.
I really actually knew, I didn't get to meet any of them on set, so I don't think I really actually knew, like I saw Terry Crews obviously I saw
Talking about X-Force.
but I saw him at the after party and I was like, what's up? Hey, you're so cool. But yeah, it's super cool, that like the second time around, people like that were even interested, that's like crazy to me. I mean, makes sense, but super cool.
And it's brilliant, even having Brad Pitt for like 3 seconds. That's so beautiful. The twist with them is amazing, and then in the end, thanks to her, and Negasonic makes that time machine. Yeah, she fixes it, so that will save Peter, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Whoa. Unfortunately, I can't just press next and it will play the video clip. I hope that you could hear what they were saying. In case you couldn't, this is only a very small excerpt of the press clip that I managed to catch while I was at MCM. So go to my YouTube channel. There is a new playlist called MCM London Comic Con. All the clips are in there. I think the interview with Brianna and Stefan is actually like 25 minutes long. They talk about all kinds of different things. It will be easier for you to hear just in case that was currently problematic. So just check that one out. They were really lovely, and I brought a few mates along as well. And all I can say is like we're all huge fans of Brianna now. I mean, they're both really lovely, Brianna and Stefan, but she is just so lovely and cute and adorable and kind, and it's just, I don't know, she's about this big, she's tiny. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, we're all huge fans of her now just because she was absolutely lovely. So I can't wait to see her in the next one. And obviously Stefan just was like, oh, and Brad Pitt, so spoiler there. But it's a fantastic film, and it was fantastic to see them interact with fans and stuff like that. It was absolutely great. So if you were at MCM, I hope you had a good time. In case you didn't get to see them, check out the video clip on my YouTube channel in the MCM London Comic Con playlist. I will be uploading other things there as well. And from Deadpool, I want to go into another Marvel thing. Now, it's more TV than it is film, but it's rather poignant at the moment. It's about Luke Cage, and Luke Cage season 2 obviously comes out in just a few weeks, I think in 3 weeks. And we had Rosario Dawson at MCM London Comic Con, which was fantastic. She did like a panel and a live stage thing, and she was answering all kinds of questions. Unfortunately, there wasn't any press interviews, but there was a lot of stuff that fans asked her at those panels, and I have also uploaded those videos onto my YouTube channel in that MCM playlist, so do check that out. There is a small excerpt here that I'm going to play you now, and I hope that works.
To be honest, yeah. It's been amazing few years of being on all the different shows. I mean, I don't know if maybe they do a third season of Luke Cage potentially, or maybe if they figure out some kind of way for me to be on the Punisher just so I can feel like I was on every show. But it's been a really remarkable ride. My daughter's in high school now, so I kind of want to be not 3,000 miles away from her at work, you know what I mean?
So Rosario Dawson was mentioning how she might not be back for any of the other Marvel shows, Marvel seasons. It's been reported by a few news outlets, and they're obviously all citing this particular clip. So if you're looking for any further information regarding her work, the Marvel Netflix shows, she also, thank God, I didn't get to ask a question, but one of my colleagues actually managed to do so. I wanted to ask her a question about Jane the Virgin, where she plays Petra's love interest, and it was really interesting. She, in the live stage panel, she's talking about it at the end. She was talking about how this came about very unexpectedly because the actress that was playing the character previously all of a sudden dropped out. She didn't go into any more detail, but all of a sudden the actress dropped out, and Gina Rodriguez, the star of Jane the Virgin, was calling her and going like, "Mate, we need you. Can you do it?" And apparently it was a Thursday, and it was like, "Can you start Saturday?" And she was like, "Mate, I can't start Saturday, but I can start Monday." And the rest is history. And I'm a huge fan of Rosario Dawson on Jane the Virgin. I love that show anyway, and I think she did a really good job there. And just like with Negasonic Teenage Warhead in Deadpool 2, obviously Rosario Dawson plays a gay woman on Jane the Virgin. And in Deadpool 2, we have Negasonic Teenage Warhead actually getting a girlfriend. That is also something that Brianna is talking about in that clip. Well, not in the clip I showed you, but in the ginormous one that is on the YouTube channel. So it's definitely worth checking out. It was really interesting to hear her talk about LGBT representation, which is obviously really important to me as well, because I am gay and I find representation in the media, especially of gay women, it's just not great, and we really need to work on that. So to have like a younger generation there coming up and just like, you know, doing it and knowing how important that is fantastic. So check out all those videos. Luke Cage comes back 22nd of June 2018, considering the Rosario Dawson one. And last but not least, I think this is the last one. Walking Dead news. I know it's a TV show, but still. We also had guests at MCM Comic Con for The Walking Dead. I've not uploaded those videos yet, but stay tuned to my Twitter because I will be uploading stuff there so you're not missing out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you're not missing out on any videos I'm putting up or any live shows going around. Apparently Andrew Lincoln reportedly is exiting The Walking Dead after season 9. Now, Andrew Lincoln plays Rick Grimes. So in case you didn't know who Andrew Lincoln is. But Rick Grimes is kind of the lead of The Walking Dead. So first we have Lauren Cohen. A few months ago was reported, she plays Maggie, that she might not return. And I was like, that'd be rubbish. Especially considering how the finale ended. You can't not have Maggie come back. Because it's kind of like her and Rick were kind of on the same side. But now in the finale, they're at odds. So apparently Lauren Cohen got a new, better contract, so she will return for 6 episodes for season 9. And it's now been reported by Collider that apparently Andrew Lincoln got the same deal or a similar deal. He's also coming back for 6 episodes. Since they're both coming back for 6 episodes, I'm like, are they gonna clash? Is that how they're going out? They're not gonna get zombified or anything, but they're like killing each other because they're not seeing eye to eye at the moment. Showdown between Maggie and Rick, that would be awesome. And according to Collider, Norman Reedus' Daryl Dixon will step up as the leading man. And here's the killer. The Hollywood Reporter is saying that Norman Reedus will be paid more than $20 million to become the main character on The Walking Dead. Now, this is not confirmed yet. This is just a rumor at the moment, but the Hollywood Reporter is quite solid, right? But obviously, Rick moves away. You need to have someone else. Daryl is a fan favorite. The guy just is probably going to sign a deal for $20 million. Awesome. The guests that we had at MCM, the video clips I'm uploading, were Carrie Payton and Cooper Andrews, who are famously playing King Ezekiel and Jerry. Yes, we had Jerry and the King. They didn't bring Shiva, unfortunately. And Tom Cruise tweeted a photo of one of his characters from like decades ago. Maverick, Pete Mitchell, Top Gun. Apparently, he just started shooting Top Gun 2. It showed the image showed the F-14 Tomcat that Maverick was flying, and it just said #Day1. So it looks like the sequel is going to call Top Gun Maverick. It's slated to theaters June 12th next year. So that should be really, really interesting. I love Top Gun, but this film is like, how old is this? Like 30 years? Something like that. That's it with the news. Lots of news. Oh my god, it's already 40 minutes in. Quick plug again for my mate's web series, A Nurse's Therapy. Check out the tiny URL, A Nurse's Therapy, because it's really hard to find on YouTube otherwise. An episode's just gone live about an hour ago. Check it out. I think it's actually my episode that's gone live. Not that that's why I'm plugging it, but you never know. It's a really cool show about a nurse that is kind of made to diarize everything that is happening with her in her life, in her professional life, in her private life, and you as the viewer kind of find out that there's not a lot that's okay in both of those parts of her life. So yeah, check that out. There's a new episode every Monday and a new episode every Thursday. So check that out. That'd be awesome. And I had a lovely guy, before I get into Entebbe, Gabriel Brown contacted me on Twitter. He's made a short film called A Gold Performance, and he asked me to watch it and review it. And it's not really a scripted film. It's more like a documentary about high school students that are putting on a play, or have put on actually a variety of plays. It's really good. I really liked it. It's fantastic when you are an actor yourself, because you kind of see yourself in those kids as well, and how enthusiastic they are, and how it changed their lives, and how it made them grow, and all of that. Unfortunately, it's 40 minutes long, which I think is a bit too long if you've not been involved in any of these productions. It's great that if you've been in these productions, it's like, oh, do you remember this? Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember this guy? Do you remember that guy? It's really cool as like a reminder of what you've done. But if you're an outside observer, it's a bit too long, it's a bit too lengthy. But overall, I really enjoyed listening to what all these kids had to say, and what they're talking about with all the different productions that they were putting on, and how positive they are, and banding together, and this whole teamwork makes the dream work kind of a thing. I really, really loved it. If it was, let's say, if it was like 5 to 10 minutes shorter, I think it'd be spot on. But check it out. It's called A Gold Performance by a guy called Gabriel Brown. That's what his YouTube channel is called, Gabriel Brown. So check that out. It's really, really good. Now, quickly, on to Entebbe, which is actually quite good considering we have like 15 minutes left. Because I don't think I have much to say about this, which is really weird. This is the only film that I managed to watch this week, so it is automatically my movie of the week. And that's probably a good thing because I think it would usually not be my movie of the week. It is, it's just not that well done, unfortunately, which is quite surprising, you know, well, I wanted to say considering who's in it, but let me just tell you what it's about. The film recounts the story of Operation Entebbe as 1976 counter-terrorist hostage rescue operation. Now, in 1976, two Palestinian and two German terrorists hijacked an Air France flight 139 en route from the Israel city Tel Aviv, Israel, to Paris in France by Athens, Greece. And they held the passengers and crew hostage at Entebbe airport and demanded a big ransom. Entebbe is in Uganda. And demanded a big ransom of $5 million for the airplane and the release of 53 Palestinian and pro-Palestinian militants, 40 of whom were prisoners in Israel. When all diplomatic efforts failed, the Israeli government decided not to negotiate but to do something and approved a counter-terrorist hostage rescue operation by IDF commandos. And the film stars Daniel Brühl and Rosamund Pike. And I'm trying to be nice about it because the film, it's not even that long. It's not even 2 hours long. And yet it feels really lengthy, which is really weird. I think it's like 107 minutes. And one of the things, I like these kinds of films because I like this whole like military operations, and you get like a SWAT team or some special commandos or something going in and like doing stuff, and it's very, everything is like very precise and timed and all of it. It's very technical, right? This film is not like that at all. It's kind of like the politician's version of that. Like you see the hostage freeing operation at the very end of the film. Like what is it, like maybe 10 minutes? Everything else is the lead up. You see them taking hold of the airplane, and it's really funny watching this now, you know, like 40 years later, because they just have handguns in their hand luggage. They walk into the cockpit and overpower the pilots and stuff. It's like stuff that would never ever happen nowadays because of all these, like ever since 9/11, obviously everything's changed. But it's just, it's like such a weird history lesson going like, this is what it used to be like. And then fuckers started hijacking planes left, right, and center. And now we have to do all the shit that we have to do nowadays just to fly from A to B, you know. But it was an interesting idea, but unfortunately the execution is very lackluster. There's not a lot of, like, I didn't care about anyone. I didn't, quite honestly, it was really bizarre. I didn't care about the hostages because I didn't really know them. There was one person, the French flight engineer. He was the only one that actually had some kind of characterization or something to do. I didn't really care about Daniel Brühl and Rosamund Pike, who were playing Germans. Obviously, Daniel Brühl is actually German. Rosamund Pike, have to admit, really good German accent. And she also speaks to him in German, and her German is really good. Now, I can still tell that she's not a German, but she did so well. Like, this is one of the best German I have heard a non-German speak in a movie, I think, in like ever. Like, and still you can tell that she is not German. As a German, you can tell. You know, it's the same thing as like if you're British, you can tell if someone doesn't do proper RP or proper London or proper Yorkshire or proper whatever the fuck it is, right? You can tell if you're a native. Which is why I find it so hilarious when you, especially when you watch American films, and they go, oh yeah, you can play a Russian. It's like, I'm not Russian, I'm Polish. Same thing. It's like, no, it's not. I was like, sometimes they go, it's like, oh yeah, you can play a Russian. It's like, I'm German. It's like, same thing. No, it's not. It's just because you think everything that's in Europe sounds exactly the same. Like you're either British or you're European, and there's nothing in between. I was like, yes, there is. It's the same thing with, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, oh yeah, just do a South African accent. And they were like, well, what kind of South African? What do you mean, what kind of South? Do a South African accent. It's like, do you know how many different South African accents there are? And the person went like, oh, good to know. And it's those kinds of things. It's like, you're clearly South African. Yeah, but where? Where in South Africa? Details are important, right? Um, but what really alienated me in this film, and it is something I can't wrap my head around. I really don't understand why someone thought that was a good idea. Now the film opens with some kind of a dance performance in a theater, and you have like a lot of dancers in like a semicircle on chairs, and they do like a weird dance routine. And there's one a woman who is a more important person. She gets to do something different. Um, and the film, it's almost like that is the film's narrative frame structure. And I was like, what the fuck is up with the dance performance? And I was like, is this woman going to be really important later on or something like that? And it turns out she isn't. She's not important at all. For whatever reason, the director thought it'd be great to have like a parallel montage with the dance performance and the hostage rescue situation that happens in the last 10 minutes. And I shit you not, it is a parallel montage. There's stuff happening with the dance performance. There's stuff happening with the military. Stuff happening with the dance. Stuff happening with the military. And I was like, what the fuck am I watching? I want to see them rescue the hostages. Or I want to see them fail rescue the hostages. I don't want to see the fucking dance. Like, if I want to see a dance performance, I go and watch a fucking dance performance. I'm not going to watch a film about a hostage situation, a hostage rescue. What's with the fucking dance performance? And I have to say one thing, the lead dancer, that lady is awesome. And she's cute and gorgeous, but she's awesome. And I feel so bad for her because everyone, I think, who watches this film goes like, what the fuck's up with that? Why is that in there? Why am I watching this? Move this shit out of the way. I want to see how we're going to sort out the shit with the hostages. So I was like, what the heck? It's like it was trying to be artsy and mega cerebral and intellectual, and it just fucking failed at it. I was like, flippin' heck. Considering this is about a plane hijacking and a hostage situation and military special commandos dropping in the middle of the night and trying to be like, let's try and do this. And then obviously nothing goes according to plan because it never does. Considering all of that, the film's really boring. I was like, how is that possible? Like, it's almost abysmal how boring this film is. I was like, there's just nothing happening. And so the best thing about the film, other than the dancer, who I feel sorry for, obviously it takes place in Uganda. And Idi Amin is the crazy dictator who is in Uganda at the time. And if you've ever seen The King of Scotland, they actually talk about Entebbe in that as well, but not that I really have a recollection of that. I just figured it out because I was reading up on it. But Idi Amin is kind of the most interesting, colorful, without trying to be racist here, like, he's the most interesting characterized person there. Every time he was there, considering what you know about him, what the type of person that he is, right? And he's being like all nice and going like, welcome, welcome. And I'm not doing this right. Like, I can't do accents, right? But he's like, welcome, welcome. Here, you're under my roof now, and I will be taking care of you. And he's never, considering who Idi Amin is and how he usually comes across and how crazy the fucker is, right? He comes across as the most calm and collected person in the entire film. And I was like, what? It was really, really bizarre. Like, you could see like bits and bobs of how controlling and mental he was. But the film didn't really go there. It's like it's shining a light on this and then shining a light on that and then on that. But it never really gives you like a proper view of things. Everything is very superficial. It's like everything we're dealing with stuff just on the surface. And I was like, why are we doing this? And then all of a sudden, halfway through the film, you're introduced to some kind of an Israeli soldier boy, and you're like, where the fuck did he come from? And he is the boyfriend of the dancer, and it's like, and he is part of the operation then for Entebbe. And I was like, what the heck? It's like, it's just so fucking weird. It's just like, and there's obviously a lot of stuff that happens with the Israeli prime minister, and whether they're going to negotiate with terrorists or not. And obviously, the political climate with Israel was quite different in '76 than it is now. Well, actually, is it? Well, everything was fairly new, right, for Israel. It was a new state and everything, and they were, yeah. I don't want to go pro or against, to be quite honest. But it was just, it was very politicized there as well, and it felt like a half-assed attempt at trying to make this work. Um, I'm not entirely sure what kind of stance the film really wants to take, because I feel like it shied away from actually having an opinion on anything. But then it also wasn't a objective documentary style thing that just gave you information. It was just, it was like it was trying to tell you about something really important, but it did so like a historical encyclopedia. Really fucking boring. And it's like, why couldn't you just make this a bit more entertaining, or at least make one of the people a bit more engaging? Like I said, the only really colorful people were Idi Amin and the French flight engineer. He had a bit of stuff to do. He interacted with Daniel Brühl's character, but even like the two Germans are obviously the leads, like Rosamund Pike and Daniel Brühl, but you don't feel for them. Not really, because you feel like you're just half-assing that. What did you think was going to happen? Did you not think things through? What the fuck were you thinking? Because they're trying to be pro-Palestine, because obviously Palestinian people were not treated very well by the Israelis, just like nowadays. Yeah, we've come a really long way in the last 40 years. And it's just, the film has good ideas, and it's trying to do something, and giving you a message and make you think. But the way that it does it, the execution is just so lackluster that it just all falls apart, and no one fucking cares anymore. And that is just so horrendous to say and to think about something like this, about this entire conflict that has been going on for decades. So I thought, as a film, it doesn't work very well. The narrative doesn't flow whatsoever. That performance shit that always comes in is like, it's almost like the most interesting stuff, even though, I mean, maybe I'm just not intellectual enough to understand what the performance was trying to tell me. But about like fearlessness and just going for it and all of that. That's what I thought it was going to be. But it just didn't make sense with all of the other stuff and what the other characters were doing. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, I want to talk to the director and go like, I just don't get it. What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to bring across? So that was a bit annoying. It's not very entertaining. It's quite boring. It's very lengthy, considering it's only 107 minutes long. And even the actual hostage operation at the end, those 10 minutes where you have a bit of action, the way it's shot is like, try to imagine shooting like a Call of Duty game in the most uninteresting way that you can think of, and then you have the action sequence in Entebbe, like the anti-David Leitch approach. That's kind of what the film does, and I have no idea how the hell that is even possible. It's just, I would say, stay away from this. Like, worse than book club. Like, really, don't waste your time on this, because I think you're just gonna fall asleep, and you're like, oh my god, this could have been such a good movie if only someone else had done it. Which is such a shame, and I feel a bit sorry for the director. But I also was, what the fuck were you thinking with like the dance thing? It's like, really? So yeah, I'm going around in circles, just like this movie actually does. It's like this whole politician thing. It's like, and then yeah, all the politician stuff is like the prime minister trying to do that, and the defense minister is trying to do that, and they're kind of like, but also going like, yes, we're partners, and I'm just like, ugh. Watching politicians is not necessarily really interesting, is it? So this film, I thought, waste of time. Really didn't like it, and judging from the trailer, I was like, this could really be good, like hostage situation, taking over a plane and stuff, awesome. No, this is the most uninteresting hostage situation I've ever seen. So there you go. Now, moving on from this, bam. Let me just quickly tell you, we have 1 minute left. Next week is gonna be a good one. Because what's going to be out next week? Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I love Jurassic World. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I don't give a shit. I had so much fun. I also had fun watching Bryce Dallas Howard run away from the T-Rex in high heels. I thought that was hilarious and badass on her part. I love this stuff. I love dinosaurs and monsters and stupid action. I think Chris Pratt's a good leading man. Bryce Dallas Howard is coming back this time, apparently without heels, with more like sensible shoes. But yeah, we're gonna get the T-Rex is coming in. Blue is coming back because the trailer tells us all these things, so we have no more surprises to go. And there's apparently something really big in the water, because I didn't do this quickly enough, so I saw that stuff. And also at MCM, they were showing the trailer all the time, and I was like, for fuck's sake, stop spoiling stuff. So next week, I'm gonna be reviewing Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. So it's gonna be awesome. Check out the videos that I uploaded from MCM, especially the one with Rosario Dawson. Well, at the moment there's only 3 videos. There's the ones with Brianna and Stefan from Deadpool. Really good. Those guys are absolutely lovely and adorable and cute. Especially the tiny Negasonic teenage warhead. She's fantastic. Follow her on Twitter. She's awesome. And then we have 2 videos with Rosario Dawson, the live stage one and the panel one. Watch it. Let me know what you think. Have fun. Don't go and watch Entebbe. Just trust me on that. Watch Deadpool 2 for the 15 millionth time. You're going to have so much more fun with that. I'm going to potentially try and watch Solo again, just to see what I think the second time around. Maybe I'll think something entirely different. So yeah, I hope you had a good time with I Love Cinema. See you again next Thursday, Jurassic World. And yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do, right? See you next time.